Started. So welcome again, everyone, to the second general body meeting of ACM at UC for fall 2020. Today we have a great workshop, introductory workshop for you on Git in the command line. So like I said, check in, and if you haven't, download Git and get a GitHub account. And if you have any issues, throw a message in the chat. All right, so I just started recording the meeting, so you are being recorded. This Teams meeting will later be uploaded to our YouTube channel for anyone who can't make it right now. And we also have other resources like the slides I'm using right now will be posted on our archive. And yeah, like I said, fill out attendance. And so what is ACM at UC? We are the student chapter of the Association for Computing Machinery. We're the computer science and programming community at UC. And we're built around a common interest of computers, technology, and software. And so we have workshops like the one you're at right now, other tech talks, hackathons, other events, and we're open to all majors. And like always, the code of conduct applies in this meeting, in our Slack, and that just means we're dedicated to a harassment-free experience for everyone. So yeah, you can check out our code of conduct at the website there. So events. So recently we had our first social on our Discord, new Discord server, and Scribble.io was a success. So we are looking to do more socials coming soon. So we'll have messages out about that, but join us. It was really fun the last time, and we hope to have more fun in the future. And then office hours, we've been having office hours on our Discord as well, Tuesdays at 12 and Thursdays at 8. And you can come in and just hang out, study, talk, whatever you want. And we'll actually have one right after this meeting. So you can come on over to the Discord. And I got an update from our faculty advisor on the International Collegiate Programming Contest. Anyone who is interested in that, it's usually in like October, but because of the whole current situation, it's been postponed until mid-March 2021. So more details to come later on that. And so we just like to throw a quick shout out to our 2 hackathons here at UC. So ACM helps organize Revolution UC in the spring. It's a great experience for organizers and for hackers. It's a 24 hours of coding, learning, and fun. We have 300 plus attendees. You can connect with sponsors, and it's just a great time. So yeah, you can get updates on our website or on our social media. And then Make UC is actually happening in like 2 weeks, I believe, on October 3rd and 4th. It's also 24 hours. It's a virtual hackathon. I think you can still sign up. They've got a lot of great sponsors, and yeah, it's going to be a really great time. All right, so like we've mentioned before, Slack is the best way to connect with ACM. We have all those different channels for different types of discussion. So you can sign up at that link, acmcincy.slack.com/signup. And there are mobile and desktop apps, and code of conduct applies. And then, like I mentioned, we have our new Discord where we'll be doing more social type events, and we might experiment with some interactive stuff during meetings on there, aside from how we'll be using Teams during this meeting. And yeah, so next week and the following week, we have a couple other meetings from ourselves and our friends, other organizations in EECS. So our next meeting is in 2 weeks at 7 p.m. again, and we'll have a speaker, Nick from Brooksource, and he'll be talking about professional development type skills. So how to land a job in this virtual world. ACM at UC, ACMW at UC will be having a meeting next week at 6 p.m. and then IEEE October 1st as well in 2 weeks at 5 p.m. All right, so let me check in here. Do we have any questions or anything so far? Otherwise, we can get started with our workshop. So again, check in if you haven't. Hopefully everyone has Git and we're ready to go. All right, so when you're programming, if you've programmed before, maybe you've brought up a text editor and you've written code, and then you've ran it somehow. But one of the most essential tools that programmers have is a command line, which it came before all those fancy Windows and text editors. It was just a computer with a text interface. So that's simulating what that is, a text-based interface for your computer, and it allows for more flexibility, and it's just easier to program than a GUI, and a GUI is a graphical user interface. So today we'll be working with a Unix-style command line. The other one is like Windows command prompt and PowerShell, and those are they have different commands and stuff like that. All right, and then Git. Git is version control. So what is version control? Version control is commonly known as VCS, version control system. And so when you're writing software, you want to keep track of what changes you make in the code and different versions. And you also want to be able to collaborate with other people working on the same software. So this is a way to track your own changes and work with others, and it just provides transparency in your code base. So like I said, Git is the most popular version control system in the world. It was created by the Linux community, mostly Linus Torvalds, and it has simple commands, and it's fast and easy to use on any size project. So first, let's go through some basics with Bash. And Bash is the language that you use on the command line to interact with your computer. So this is, again, for the Unix-style command line. So first, I'll start by pulling up. So here we've got, everyone's familiar with your folders in your file system. And you can browse around and look at all your different files. But before this type of interface even existed, you just had the terminal. So these two things are actually the same, because right now you can see I'm in that same folder with all of those directories. And so ls just means list. So you can list where you are in the file system at that time. And then CD is change directory. So you can change to anywhere you want, really. You just have to say change to CS, and then you're there. And then CD, and then ... is going up, basically going up, going back. So I go in, and then I go back to the home directory. Okay, make directory, that's mkdir. So you basically are making a new folder, simple. And then touch is making a new file in that current directory. Any questions so far? We'll use these commands in the workshop today when we're working with Git. All right, awesome. All right, so let's get started with Git. So everyone should be able to go in to their command prompt and type in git version and see a version. And if you don't, that means something is wonky with your install, or it's not in your path or something like that. So if you're having any of those issues, throw a message or Google it and see if someone else has a quick solution on the internet for you, but we can try and help you get that sorted out. All right, so you have Git, it's working. So now you're going to want to configure Git to have your name and email address, so that when you record your changes that you make, it displays your name, or it records who made those changes. So you can do git config global user.name, and then in quotes your first and last name, and then git config global user.email, and then your email. And so you can just see. And then if I did the same for email, so if you don't include the text after, it'll just display what's currently there. So yeah, any questions on that? Should be pretty simple. All right. So now we're going to just create a basic Git project and walk through the basic steps of using Git. So first, to make software, we have to actually make something in the system. So we're going to make first a directory, and then we're going to make a file inside that. So let's start with make directory git demo. All right, and you'll see over here, actually, yeah, it just created that. And then you're going to want to change into that directory and initialize a Git repository. So cd git demo, and then git init. And so now you'll see, if I do this, what that does is it actually creates a folder where all of the Git information is stored. Before it was just an empty folder, but now we've got some helpful information that Git uses behind the scenes. I'm on GitHub, but there's nowhere to type. So GitHub we'll get to later. GitHub is a tool that we use with Git. So if you can, what operating system are you on, Alex or Alexander? If you're on Windows 10, okay. So you can go into, you can just search CMD in your file system. Yeah, command prompt. Yep, okay, perfect. All right, so then, like I said, we're going to add some files to the project. So let's go back here. So like I said before, we have touch creates a file in the current directory. So we are currently in the Git demo, and we're going to create a file with touch test file.txt. So now you'll see there's the file. Right now it's empty. We haven't, there's nothing in there. And you can see Git will detect that there's a new file that it hasn't seen before. And so you can check that out with Git Status. And so it'll say, you're on the branch master, there's no commits yet, and you have some untracked files. All right, any questions so far? Any other issues we're running into? All right. All right, so we just checked, we just created an empty file. Git recognizes that there's a new file there. So now what we're going to do is, so it says that it's untracked. It's an untracked file, but now we want Git to track it. So when you finish editing your files, you can stage them. And the way we do that is git add and then the file name. Okay, here. Can share.
Yeah, could we post the slides somewhere? That might be helpful.
Yes. Okay, should be able to access that. All right, and yes, on Windows, it's a little different. So the ls command is actually dir, dir, and but cd will still work. I think make directory will still work. Don't remember about touch. All right. All right, so touch likely doesn't work. Okay, yeah. All right, so we've seen that there's an untracked file, so now we want to git add test file.txt. Oh, good point. Yeah, git bash is a great thing because then it has the same commands. It's like a simulated bash on Windows. Yeah. All right. So git add. We've just added the file. Then we can go and do git status again and see now it's green. Now it's being tracked. And it's going to be committed. So we'll do that next. So added your files and now you're going to commit the changes. So commit just means we're creating an official change in the system. We're tracking this version of the software. And so we'll see that in a second. It's very, very useful. So git commit and then -m for message. And then we'll just say initial commit. All right, and so now you can see there's no longer anything being tracked, or it's being tracked, but Git no longer sees that there's anything different about the current workspace. It has tracked all the changes and there's nothing different currently. And so now you've made that commit, so you can go and look at your previous commits in a log. So git log. And so you can see there's a couple things here. So we have that message that we just typed. We have each commit has a unique hash. So every commit has a randomly generated string here that uniquely represents that specific commit. So that's a great way to reference different versions of your software. And so then we've got my name and email. That's what I mentioned before. We need the git config and then the current date. All right, any other questions? Okay. All right, so now we get to one of the features of Git that makes it more interesting. So if you just had a commit and then you make another commit and you just keep making commits in a line, it wouldn't be very useful. That's kind of just like real life where if you're writing with pen on a piece of paper and you just keep writing. But with branches, you can kind of split off and two people can be doing work at the same time, but then you can merge back together later. So you can see that image over here. So yeah, Git branches exist so people can work on the same code in parallel. And so the commands that we use in Git are git branch and then the branch name. So that just creates a new branch with that name. And then you can delete a branch with -d. Checkout means, so here you've just created the branch, but you haven't actually done anything with it. You're not on that branch. But here with checkout, you actually switch over to that branch. And then git merge, we're not going to use merge today, but merge basically is that merging of two branches together, or basically merging one branch into another. And there's a lot of different things, more complex topics with merging and rebasing and all those fancy things that we're not going to get into today because we don't have time. But we can post some resources in the Slack that I've found helpful in the past to kind of wrap your brain around that one. All right, any other questions so far? Yeah, great question. Yeah, that's another feature of Git is when two branches have conflicts, you have to fix those conflicts before it's completely merged together. Yeah. All right, so let's do a quick intro to branches, and then we're going to use it later on when we are adding ourselves as new members to the ACM website. So first, let's just make a branch. So we have our repository. What did I name it? Git branch, add text. All right, so right now we just have a file that has nothing in it. So we're gonna make changes by adding text. And so we've created that new branch. So now if we list, if you just say git branch without anything after it, then it lists all the branches you have. So right now you can see we're on master and we've just created add text. All right, so now we're going to move over to that branch, git checkout, add text. All right. And now we're going to, so you can see we've changed branches, but the same file is still there. So the whole point is to be able to track different versions of the same file or the same files. Maybe some files have been added or some have been deleted, but Git tracks all of those changes. So you can just switch a branch. So you can, let's say that there's an extra file on this branch. If I switch back to master, it will automatically remove that file and it'll be back to the way it was, just with the one file empty. So Git automatically handles those things when you switch branches. It's really handy. All right, so now to actually add text, you could go to that file and open up a text editor and type in text and hit save. Or another way with the command line is you can do echo hello world or any text you want right there. And then you're going to direct the output to this file. That's what that means. And so let's just see that work. So echo hello world, test file underscore text. I just wanted to check again, is anyone running behind or needs a little bit extra time or anything? Yeah, I figured that as well, Dave. All right. Okay, yeah, if anyone's way behind, keep plugging along. I can keep doing some delays like this. And if you're still having trouble, you can always hop over to the Discord for office hours right after this and we can work through anything else. Or you can just type in any other questions you have in here and we can stop and take care of them. All right, so we're going to echo hello world and then direct that output to the file that we've created. All right, so now we can see if we cat just means read that file. So we're going to read the file and see what's in there. And so you can see now it contains the text hello world. And like before, we can do git status to see what's changed in our current state. And we can see, okay, this file has been modified from what Git previously saw. And all right, so yes. And then commit the changes just like before. So yeah. And yes, Marshall brings up a good point. You can do git add dot, and then that will just add everything, any file that's changed. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right, so git add dot, and yeah, you can see that in action now. It just adds that file. So now it's ready to be committed. So now we can commit, and we'll just say add some text. All right. And then now we can see that we have 2 commits in our log. So we have that initial one and then the one we just made. And so you can see Git actually shows you this is where my master branch currently is. That's the most recent commit from my master branch, and then my add text branch is ahead. Any other questions so far? All right. All right, I'll wait a second just to make sure everyone's up to date. So I guess while we're here, I am not going to go through merging. We'll do a little bit of that with the GitHub coming up here in a second. But basically, right now we've got those 2 branches. What we could do is merge the 2 together and bring the change we just made into the master branch, and then we would have not just an empty file, but a file with, we would have the file with text like we have it right now, basically. All right, so now Git is great because we're tracking changes. We can make different branches. We can do all this stuff, but it's all locally here on your computer. So GitHub solves that problem of interconnectivity with other people. So GitHub creates a remote location where you can push and pull your code and the changes to your code. And so you can push and pull to keep your local repository in sync with what's on GitHub. And it's the best service for code collaboration. And if you have lots of different projects that you're working on or contributing to on GitHub, it can act as a great digital resume. And okay, so everyone should have a GitHub account. If not, it should be pretty quick. I think you can probably, yeah, it's quick. So next, make a repository. So this is a standard workflow that you can do when you want to start work on a new project and store it remotely on GitHub as well. So you can make a repository and then connect it to your local version with adding a remote, git remote add origin, and then the URL from your repository. And then if you want to clone just means, so you've got the remote, you're cloning, pulling down to your local machine, someone else's repository or maybe your own that it's just not downloaded onto your machine yet. So that's what that means. So cloning is pulling it down for the first time. And then I think, yeah, the next slide here. So pulling is pulling down new changes that have been made. So you already have that local version, but you're pulling down any new changes that have been made. And then pushing, so after you've done everything we've already done in this workshop, so we've maybe created a new branch, made some changes, committed it, but that's still all saved locally. So what we can do is git push it, and then that will push your changes to the remote location where other people can see it and review your code if you're trying to merge it into a certain branch. Yeah, any questions about any of this kind of stuff? It's some concepts that you have to get used to. It takes some time, but we'll be happy to answer any questions if anyone's got any, because that always helps other people's perspectives on it. All right, so pushing and pulling. All right, so now the next step of the workshop, what we want to do, so as you guys may have seen on our website, oh yes, I will share this as well. So there's another document that we've had from previous years that is another great, just full list of Git commands and what they mean, how to use them. So you can check that out. All right, so let's go to, so we've got our website here and we have list of members. So let's go to a given year. So we've got, oh, Dave's picture is not working anymore. Uh-oh. So we've got all of our members here, and you can add your name and information to this list, or whichever year you're on. We should have every year that's here at UC right now. And so we're going to do that right now. So our website is on our ACM at UC's GitHub account. So we have this repository here. It's got all of our code, and you can see the current versions of all these files. And so, yeah, I guess I'll do a quick run through of GitHub in general. So we've got this repository. You can check out the different branches. We'll go into pull requests later. And then like we did the Git log, you can see all your old commits. You can see those here. And then let's see what else. I guess another useful feature is within the commit, you can see the changes that were made. So you can see I added all of this text to set up the 2025 members pages. And it'll show you in red if there's anything that was deleted. And that also, yeah. All right, so the next step for you guys is go to that repository. I'll copy it real quick and paste it here. All right, so everyone go there and click the fork button up in the top corner, top right. Fork this site, this repository. And so what that's going to do is that's going to create your own version of this repository on your GitHub account. So I'll show you here. I've got my own fork of it over here on my account. So you can see the original is ACM at UC, but mine is on my account. And so if I wanted to, I could just go in and make whatever changes here I wanted, but it would not affect the original unless I requested that it be pulled in there. But that's what we're going to do today is we are going to make changes on your own fork, and then request that those changes be pulled into the actual website. Any questions so far? So far just hitting the fork button up in the corner. All right, so all good. Okay. All right, so next, so you currently don't have it on your local machine, so you want to do that so you can edit it and make changes. So we're going to git clone and then the URL to your fork of the repository. And so you can get that. It should be this standard URL, but the easiest way to do that is just to go in to GitHub, hit this button, and then hit copy button, and that'll be the full URL you need. And remember, that's on your username. If you fork ACMs, you could still make changes locally, but then you can't push back to the repository if you don't have the right privileges. All right, any questions so far? We can get started with making changes. All right, so let's go there now. Okay. So here I have it from the past, but let's pretend it would be the same if I just now cloned it. So let's cd into that folder, change directories, and then you can list out all the files there. So you can see we've got everything that was listed here in the actual repository. All right, so what we'd like to do is add a new member, add yourself with the information. So okay, so the first step we want to do is create a new branch. So creating a new branch just makes it easier to identify that. Like, so since it's already coming from a different fork, we could see that it's coming from you, but it just makes it easier to label your branches, label your changes on a branch. You know, traditionally when you're making software at like a job or something, you'll create a new branch for a new feature that you're adding to the software, or anything that can be labeled in that way. That's it's a great way to keep track of everything. So we are going to create a new branch, and so you can do this locally on the repository you just cloned. Follow along. So git, and so this is actually, forgot to mention, this is a shortcut to what we did before. So before we did git branch name, and then git checkout, and then the name, but now we can do it all in one with git checkout -b, and that just checks out a new branch with that name. All right. And all right, so now we've got that new branch. You can see we're currently on that branch. And all right, so now we want to make changes to the file. So easiest way to do that, since there's a bunch of files, I'm just going to pop in to my text editor. And so there's a couple files you want to edit. Or actually, no, there's only one file you want to edit. So you're going to go up to the _data folder, and you're going to pick your year, whichever year you're in, and you're going to go in there and you're going to see, okay, so we've got an example entry to help you guys see the format we want. And then it's basically just a list of data that the website automatically formats into a nice web page. So you can go in, copy this format, add your name, bio, image. You don't have to add everything, whatever you want to. And so yeah, you can. So I will make some changes to mine so that we can do a full walkthrough on here. So I'm a 3rd year CS student, currently doing my 2nd co-op at Northrop Grumman. All right, picture, GitHub, website still the same. So I've got my changes made. I'm going to save the file. All right, so major changes. Now we're going to commit the changes just like we've done before. Okay, and then I think I recommended, for your commit message, just say add your name to members. I'm just going to say I'm updating my own because that's what I did. All right, so I'll take a second and let everyone catch up on that one. Ah, yes, good tip there, Piyush. All right. So now you can see we've got that most recent commit. And actually, while I'm waiting a second for everyone, I can show you guys. So like we saw on GitHub, you can see some changes from the most recent commit. So we can actually have this same look to it in the command line. If we do, actually, we'll just do git show and then head. That's just the commit that you're currently on, the most recent commit. And so you can see the changes that I just made. So it shows like the commit itself and then the files. Yeah, and then deleted this, inserted this. And so it looks at the whole line as a whole, even though I just changed parts of it. Yeah, so that's a great tool. Any other questions so far? There's a lot to, yeah. So okay, are you caught up? That's great. You've been very speedy. So you can just either from your command line or text editor, however you choose, go into the underscore data, and then whichever year you are, pick that file, and then add a new. You can just like copy this and add it, or copy one of these and just replace it with all of your information, and then save it, and then commit your changes like we've been doing the same way. All right, so right now, all these changes are local. They're only on this machine. They haven't been updated to my, where'd it go? Yeah, to my repository C. So the last one was made an hour ago, but this last commit was made like a minute ago. So it's not there yet. So what we need to do now is push the changes to our fork. So you can do git push origin, and then, so right now, the fork that you have on GitHub doesn't know about that branch that you just created. So in order to create that branch from your machine, you can do git push origin and then the name of that branch, and that specifies go to this branch, and GitHub will recognize if it's not already in existence, it'll create that branch for you. All right, so let's see that in action. What was it called? Add. Okay. So now you can see all of this fancy statistical stuff from Git pushing the data, and then it'll show when it's done that it's, where is it? Yeah, so it's created a new branch, and it's pushed your local branch to this branch. So you could do, if these were different names, like if I had this name here, but then I wanted to push to add or update member Brandon, you could do that, and it would just show those two different names here. Any other questions? So we're pushing from the local machine to the fork, your own personal fork on GitHub. All right, so now it's now the code is on your GitHub, but it's not on our website yet. So how we do that is you make a pull request to so this is one thing that I had trouble understanding at first as well. It's kind of weird because from your perspective, you've just pushed to your repository, and then it feels like you're gonna push again to this other repository, but you have to think about it from the perspective of the people, the owners of the repository. So ACM at UC's original repository has to pull your changes in. So yeah, just think about it from the owner's perspective. They're pulling your changes in. So you're making a pull request. And so we'll go back to the website. All right, so now you can see it's notifying me, hey, we've seen that you've just made a commit and you pushed it. Do you want to make a pull request? So that's what we're going to do. And so you can see here, make sure that the base repository, the owner, the one that's pulling your changes in, is the original ACM, and then on branch master, and then it's pulling the changes from your fork, and then that branch you just created. And yeah, you don't have to add anything else. So you can just create pull request. And now, yes, okay, so now we can go back to the original ACM at UC, and we can see, okay, there's a pull request. And it looks like we've got a couple people. Awesome. As you can see here, everyone's got their changes, and you can see, yeah, files changed. Uh-oh. Did you upload your your
I did nothing.
Did you upload your Visual Studio config files or something?
I did exactly.
All right, we'll check it out. All right. Oh, that's actually a good situation we have here. So I see something that's not supposed to be there, and I can then say, hey, make these changes. So I can do that. Okay. And so this is why pull requests exist. Is you can create a pull request, but the people who are going to pull it in might have changes they want you to make in addition to what you've already done, to conform to their policies or whatever, or their standards, you know. And then so I can comment that, and then you can push another change. So how that works is you would just push again to that branch on your fork, and GitHub will automatically see that and add your other commit down here and say, hey, he's made those changes, check it out. And so that can just keep going. You can have commits stack up here, and a whole bunch of commits can be part of one pull request. All right. Any questions so far? I think we're actually close to the end. So, oh wow, time flew by. Yes. Okay. Okay, so yeah, everyone can keep making their pull requests, and we will merge those in when they are ready, and then you'll be on the website. So yeah, any other questions? Or anything else you want to see, or anything I didn't go, like, do you want to hear about merging? I guess we can, yeah, let's, oh yes, sorry. In the slides, yeah, that base thing is just for the in the pull request itself, this base and compare. Yeah, so GitHub Desktop, I have not personally used it. Has anyone in this meeting used it? Anyone?
Yeah, yeah. So GitHub Desktop is basically your GitHub, but like you don't have to go to github.com all the time to be able to access that. There are a few commands that you can run inside GitHub Desktop, but other than that, it's just a graphical user interface for most of the things that you can do on terminal. You don't have to, like, you can see all those changes and all those pull requests that you do directly in GitHub Desktop. Like, you don't have to log into github.com to do that. And it also provides a few other useful features that would otherwise be very lengthy to do on the desktop, on the website. So.
Cool. All right, what else we got? Git ignores. Yes, Git ignores. We have a little bit of time, so we can go over that. Git ignores. So if you've got, so we made our folder. We went into that folder and did git init. So that's our outermost folder for the Git repository. So we could put there a git ignore file, and so it goes line by line in the file. Git does it and it checks whether this pattern matches any of the files that you've got in your repository. And if it does match the pattern, or if it's just matches the name directly, then it will not track those changes. It'll not track the file at all. And so that's a nice way to like ignore config files that you don't want to record, or things that were made as part of a build of the software, stuff like that.
We have the git ignore file in the repo. You can just open and show that.
Yeah. What just happened? There we go. Yeah. So we've got some standard stuff. So like this is made as a result of the build process for Jekyll, which is how this website is built. We're going to ignore some stuff from Mac, from Ruby, and some cache stuff. So I guess we could add the .vs thing as well. And yeah, anyone who still has any questions or just wants to come and chat, or figure anything else out with Git, feel free to stop by the Discord. Sorry. And yeah, we'll be hanging out there until 9 o'clock. And yeah, so I hope this is a good introduction for everyone. I hope everyone learned at least the basic concepts and basic features of Git. There's a lot more you can dive into, and like I said, I'll post some resources that help me out with some of those concepts. But yeah, any final questions? Thank you guys all for coming. All right, then I will see you guys at the next meeting, or in the Discord right now. And I guess I'll go back to that. The next meeting is 2 weeks from now. We'll have Nick from Booksource land a job in a virtual world, and then ACMW and IEEE we'll have a meeting next week, and then 2 weeks like us. Yeah, thanks for coming, guys. And if you didn't sign in at the beginning, fill out attendance so that you can vote at the end of the year and we know you came.